it.
Actually, I think it's a kick forwards into the right.
That intentional runner, it's going to get there. Oh, excuse me. Look at this one. This could be close.
We have Jake Howes,
That's
right. Owner, Chief Indoor Golf Revenue Officer of Pioneer Golf.
Welcome, Jake. How are we doing today?
Absolutely fantastic. It's funny. I got so many calls this morning, and I have to set alarms every like 30 minutes throughout the day just to keep up. So I'm excited to be here.
Are these sales calls? Or are these spammer calls?
90% are sales calls, so that's good.
All right. So you're closing. So who's calling you?
I'm getting calls from golf courses. I'm getting calls from guys that want to put sims in their garages, and I'm getting calls from commercial facility owners that want to open a new venture.
All right. So before we jump into it, you've been in this industry for what, I think about 6 years now. You work with GolfZone, who's a big company out in Asia. They're making a big push for the U.S. market. You work with Unicore, who makes simulators in Asia and also brought a big kind of push to the U.S. market. And you went on your own. What was the exact date?
I went on my own starting on December 4th, and I started my career working at a TrackMan facility. Thank you. Working at a TrackMan, and then I worked with GolfZone headquarters for a while, and then also with Unicore. So pretty versed in the space. And then I saw all different types of build outs and worked with all different types of customers on the marketing side. And I said, hey, these build outs look awesome. I want to be able to be brand agnostic and give the best technology to everyone and the best experience. And I decided to go for it.
So you're based in Minnesota.
That's awesome.
Majority of your customers are in Minnesota.
Minnesota and I'd say like western Wisconsin and eastern Dakotas. So just all in the greater Minnesota area.
I do have to throw this in there beforehand just for transparency. Jake reached out to me 6 months before he decided to go on his own and basically asked me about doing it and what it takes. And we probably talked, 4 or 5 times over the course of your planning?
Least. Yeah.
And my biggest take was do it now before you have kids, before you have a mortgage, before you have all the other crap that's going to prevent you from doing it. And if you fail, you learn from it, move on.
Absolutely.
So your first 3 months in business, how's it been?
It has had its ups and downs, absolutely, which you warned me about, and every single podcast, everything I've been listening to over years about starting your own business, it was absolutely true. There's nothing you can prepare for. You just have to do it. And then when you're in it, you have to figure it out. Sometimes I feel like there's no one to help you, but at the end of the day, I mean, staying up till, past midnight and figuring stuff out has worked for me so far. And I always try to find a way. The first month I did 6 figures. So I even surprised myself. I took a loss, surprisingly, because I didn't price out some jobs correctly, but I learned from it very quickly. And then the last 2 months have been profitable. So it's been a wild ride. I feel like I've been doing it for like a year now. Just feels like I'm soaking up so much information and meeting so many new people every day that are just wanting to help me. So it's just been incredible.
All right. We'll start with the negative first. So you took the loss on that first month. What was the other biggest issue you ran into or biggest hurdle you had?
There are so many different products and so many different combinations to sell customers. Narrowing down really what my offerings are and how I want to position myself in the market and differentiate was something I had to work on. So yes, you can be brand agnostic and sell everything to everyone. Or, for me, it came down to who are my top 3 audiences and who do I want to sell to and what are they looking for and how can I differentiate? And for me, that came down to communication, customer service, and then my marketing ability. So being able to build off of those, having some of those as my background really helped me have a lot of 5-star reviews early on. And then they started to refer their friends. And then my network has really helped just really expand how many people I'd be able to meet that can help me that are either vendors or manufacturers. And it's just been,
That's awesome. So Jake, what type of, so it's custom. So what is the highest type of simulator? Is it like someone's garage? Is it like a business, like retail building, brick and mortar? Like what is kind of the type of clientele you're really seeing success with? And like, what's the most fun type of custom simulator place to work on?
I think the most fun are working on custom basement builds because some guys already have all the artwork picked out. They have the custom bar. They want, 3 types of turf. They want lighting over here. They want a curtain on this side, and then they want, they want a pool table behind, and then they want these huge windows. So we get to work with the architects, we get to work with the contractors, and then it really is a challenge, which I find is fun, being able to fit all the technology in their space. Sometimes they want a TrackMan and they want a GC quad in there and they want 6 TVs and a touchscreen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to figure this all out? But you have to find a way. So I think residential are the most fun. The most stressful, I'd say, are like commercial facilities, because if they're 24/7 facilities, I'm on the hook. If anything isn't working at 2 a.m. and there's a guy in there hitting balls and he calls the owner, and guess what? The owner's calling me. So I have to make sure that I'm getting the right tech in there that's super reliable. And I think those have been really challenging and fun as well.
All right. So if I called you up and said, "Hey, I have 10 grand to build a simulator," what would you offer me?
So the first question I'd ask is, do you have righties and lefties in there? Because if you just
No,
have
just righties.
just righties, I would say that net return products are awesome. So they're trusted by Bryson DeChambeau, and they're used by all the world long drive guys. Super durable, really high quality nets. You can bring them indoors, outdoors, and you could throw a screen on the front. So a lot of guys say, "Hey Jake, I just have 10 grand." I say, go with a net return. I'll install, the turf hitting mat, get you set up with a good gaming computer, and the Unicore iMini Lite is awesome when it comes to launch monitors. A lot of guys go with the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro. Those are 2 I'd recommend, and you can have an awesome setup for under 10 grand with a $1,000 projector. Turn the lights off, and it looks great.
All right. So my biggest issue when I do this, I want to use my phone or an iPad. I don't have a gaming computer. I have a laptop for work. What's the best option if I just want to use an app or an iPad?
I think there's a lot. If it comes down to, if you just want data, I think that Unicore iMini or iMini Lite is awesome. You get 19 data points. You get your club replay. You get a lot of different analysis. You can hook up swing cameras. So I think that Unicore is great when it comes to that. But they don't offer courses you could play with your iPad. So if you want like an all-in, I think the full swing kit is an awesome option. And then I believe with Rapsodo, you can hook that up to your iPad and play with E6. So there's a few different options there.
All right. So I've learned about this industry over the last couple of years. Radar versus cameras. What's the difference? What's better? What's worse? What do you recommend?
Everyone asked me this question. I just got off the phone actually with a customer today. He has a GC Quad Max in his hitting area just for data that you can get with high-speed cameras, and then he also wants a TrackMan 4 behind him for data with the radar. So he wants to compare both. What I will say is, if you're playing mostly outdoors, TrackMan 4 or a radar-based unit is unbeatable, because the more ball flight, the more data that it gets. When it comes to indoor golf, you want a unit with high-speed cameras. Those are going to be more accurate indoors because it only needs a few inches to read the dimples on the ball. It doesn't need to see the whole flight. And it's a lot faster processing it. So as soon as you hit the ball, you'll see it on the screen. Whereas with a radar-based unit, it takes a few seconds for it to do the calculations. So I always recommend high-speed cameras indoors when possible.
So let's say same scenario. I have $30,000 to spend. Right, bigger budget. What do I go with? What do you recommend?
I would recommend a cage solution. So I would go with a custom cage that we would build into your space. And then I would also have a really nice piece of putting turf, hitting mat, upgraded gaming computer. And then for when it comes to launch monitors, the Unicore IXO or IXO2, you can't go wrong. So you get 18 data points, and then it connects to GS Pro, which is the best software on the market by far when it comes to simulated golf. 1,300 plus courses, all 4K, and just a ton of fun. So Unicore GS Pro combo under 30,000.
So I have to admit, I have a couple of these. I have the what's it called the Skytrack one, Skytrack 2. I have one out of China that a vendor sent me. I'm not gonna say who it is yet, but it's a camera based one. Have you heard about this new thing coming out? It's called Red Stakes Golf.
I haven't heard of it. What is it?
Okay. Billy, have you heard of this?
No.
It just launched. So Red Stakes Golf acquired OptiShot, which is one of the first simulator companies at the lower price point. They're using your phone as the camera.
Oh, that's cool.
So your iPhone 11 or higher, you can hook it up to your computer. You can play courses. You can practice. Basically, the camera. I talked to the owner. We're gonna have him on in a couple weeks. It's an iPhone camera. The app is $150. Then you pay $199 a year for the courses. So, is an iPhone camera as good as what you're going to get in a Unicore camera base or a quad or a Foresight?
I know that an iPhone camera, at least for I think it was the 13, is 120 frames per second. And some TrackMan facilities use those as their swing cameras. But obviously, this is looking at the golfer's swing, not analyzing the ball. I think the frame rate would have to be in the 250 to 300 range to analyze a ball correctly. So I'm very interested to see how the app will perform.
Now, listen, it's for $150. Like, there's no barrier to entry, right?
I was just about to say, because the lowest launch monitor I would recommend right now is like 600 or 700. So this is going to be even way more approachable than that.
Yeah. So our Soda, right? That's $699. They're one of the first that came out with that kind of smaller device. Billy, what's your experience with indoor sim? What have you done? What have you played on? What do you like? What do you not like about it?
I feel like I've mostly used TrackMan. It's the most recognizable brand to me with it. You know, it's orange and it says TrackMan pretty big. I go to in-town golf here in Radnor, which is starting to grow throughout the country as a kind of slightly high-end simulator environment. And they have TrackMan. It's great. I really do like the simulator, but at the end of the day, if I'm trying to get better at golf, I'm typically a range guy, and I'd rather go to the range and hit because I feel like the turf just only it doesn't really help me out there in real life. But I think it's great, especially in the Northeast. Probably you in Minnesota, great during the winter months. It's one of the best things you can do to, you know, still itch your golf scratch during that off season. And hopefully one day I'm able to put a big old simulator in my man cave type basement. So that's definitely a goal once I end up buying a house and have the disposable income to do so.
So my wife let me put it in our attic above our garage. So I have the big 10 by 10 hitting projector screen. I have a big TV, like a 50-inch TV, and my kids go up there and play. I want to get out during the winter and hit balls 2, 3 times a week. Because then when it gets nice here on the East Coast, like I'm ready to go. Is it nice enough to play outdoors now in Minnesota, Jake?
It's almost there. We'll get some days where it's 53 and the next day it's 32 and snowing. So we just don't know. I think starting in April, it'll be nice enough. Some public courses are opening this week, and then some private ones are holding out. But it's funny, a lot of courses just put in seasonal setups where they say, hey, Jake, we want to make sure our golfers are happy for those 6 months where they can't play. We want to put in some cages, and then can you take them down? Because we have a bunch of weddings coming up in the summer. So it's absolutely so. I think every course, if they have a ballroom, should be able to put in a simulator and keep their members happy all year long.
All right. So you're doing this with golf courses right now in the Minnesota area.
Yes.
How many are they putting in? How long does it take to build out? Because you're doing all the build out, right?
Do the whole build out. It takes about a day per simulator to build. This is for a commercial cage solution. So these are large cages. They're 15 feet wide, 15 deep, 10 tall. They have all the technology built into them. So I don't need to drill into the ceiling. There's nothing permanent construction wise, which is really nice. I train up the operators there on site, managers, and then they're good to go. And a lot of them are open, 10 to 12 hours a day. They run leagues, they have parties, events, and then they usually keep them open from Friday to Sunday just for open play. And they're at about a 60% utilization rate, and they've just been crushing it right now. I mean, there's 107 facilities in Minnesota, which is the largest in the country by far. And I actually mapped it by what type of technology. So when someone approached me and say, hey, what type of tech do I go with? I'm looking at these 5 companies. I say, well, look, these top 3 companies are dominating, and they're obviously the most reliable and most consistent. this is what I would recommend for your facility.
So, Jake, I have a question. When you started Pioneer, did you realize you were essentially starting a construction company, or as like because it seems like no matter where you go, you have to almost think like a contractor when building everything out. Everyone has different spaces, different home styles, and attic, basement. So did you really understand how much the construction factor goes into this, or has that been something that's kind of not hit you by surprise, but just has been a realization along the way?
Yeah, I was scared at first. I'd call Jonah and be like, I can figure out all this golf stuff, but I don't know anything about code and construction. And he's like, all right, well, you got to find someone that does, or you got to do it yourself. So for me, I would just take it project by project. And if they're like, all right, I got to mount a projector, 15 feet off the ground, I would just figure it out. So I would talk to the GC on site, or I would just watch some YouTube videos. I would figure out a way to make it work. And then thankfully, I've had some really awesome partners that have backgrounds in construction. So every time I'm on site, I'm learning from them. Or if they're like, hey, Jake, we're doing this other install. Do you want to just come by? I'll literally sit there for hours, take notes, take videos, see what they're doing. So I'm just constantly learning. I'm just really hungry to be able to do it all myself. And right now, I do have a few partners that help me with some aspects of that. At the end of the day, it's not that complicated. Now that I'm a few months in, I understand how framing works and drywall and running conduit and being able to pull wires, and when I need to have someone certified come in and do work. So it definitely was a surprise at first. I'm just thankful I have some really awesome partners, and I learned pretty quickly, I think.
That's awesome. Listen, we only got a few more minutes. I'm going to throw out some questions for you, Jake. Are you ready? Random questions. All right. Best course you ever played?
Best course, I'd say a Kiowa on the ocean course.
Kiawah Island, South Carolina. Worst course you ever played?
The Muni in my my hometown. I won't name it though.
All right. Favorite club in your golf bag?
On my 60 degree.
Why?
So I just got out the other day. It's the big toe, and I just like how it looks.
Like some flop shots?
Yeah, I love flop shots. And I don't know, it's just my go-to. I don't like the 54 or 58. I just feel uncomfortable.
So you use a 60 around the Muni course?
Yeah, all day.
It's flopping around.
Yep.
Bucket list place to play golf?
I've been to the Masters a few times now, so probably Augusta. I'm just that close, but I can't get on.
You know you can't get on. Come
I
on,
know.
realistic. Bucket list place you can play that you actually can get on.
That is a fantastic question. Maybe Waste Management when the whole crowd is packed. Yeah.
I was going to say TPC, hole 17 in the Pro-Am.
Well, that would be fun too.
What's your next 12 months? What's your goal with the business? Where do you want to be at?
My goal is $2 million in sales by the end of the year, and is also to have a work van, like a Ford Transit or Mercedes Sprinter, to have a warehouse / showroom space, and to be able to have 2 full-time installers.
I love it. Well, listen, on your journey, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be issues. Reach out to me, all right? I've done it. I've been there. I've made the mistakes. Use the resources you have, whether it's me or somebody else. So on that note, if somebody needs a simulator, if they need your expertise, where are they going to find you?
Yes, pioneergolfco.com, or you can find me at jake@pioneergolfco is my email. So happy to help you out. I've helped a ton of people in other states where they're just like, hey, I'm stuck on a build. Could you help consult? I mean, I'll jump on a call for 30 minutes. Happy to help you out, even if you're not in my market. So
dude, congrats. You're on your own. It's amazing. It's scary. It's exciting. You love it some days. You hate it some days. Life can suck. Life can be amazing. So congrats. Keep it going. Focus on the next job. And you always need to continue to close and sell.
Agreed. Right. I'm learning that pretty quickly. So
A, B, C.
Always be closing. On that note,
all right,
we're out.
Swing it like a boomerang, a tank come around, wanna hit the top.